Welcome back to Readology Review, everyone. I'm Emma, and I'm really excited for today's deep dive. Joining me, as always, is our resident book expert, Ethan. How are you doing today, Ethan?
I'm great, Emma. Always a pleasure to be here and chat about some truly impactful books. Today, we're tackling one that often sparks a lot of debate and strong opinions. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power.
Oh, it certainly does. When I first picked this up, I admit I was a bit intimidated by its reputation. It's often seen as this Machiavellian guide to ruthless manipulation. But is that really what it is at its core, Ethan? What's the big takeaway Greene wants us to understand about power?
That's a fantastic starting point, Emma, because it gets right to the heart of what the book conveys. Greene's preface makes it clear the feeling of having no power over people and events is generally unbearable to us. He states, no one wants less power, everyone wants more. So the book isn't just for politicians or corporate bigwigs, it's for anyone who feels that sense of helplessness and misery that comes from powerlessness.
That resonates. I think we've all felt that at some point. But the way the book frames it, it sounds like power isn't something you can just ignore or opt out of, right?
Exactly. Greene argues that in today's world, much like the old aristocratic court, we face a peculiar paradox. Everything must appear civilized, decent, democratic, and fair. However, if you play by those rules too strictly, you risk being crushed by those around you who are not so foolish. The game, he suggests, is constant duplicity, outwardly respecting niceties, but inwardly being prudent. He advises placing your iron hand inside a velvet glove, a concept Napoleon also espoused.
So it's about being subtle and cunning, even if you seem congenial and democratic? That sounds exhausting. What about those who claim to be non-players in this game? Do they really exist?
Greene has a strong warning about them, Emma. He states that you must beware of such people, as they are often among the most adept players at power. They employ strategies that cleverly disguise manipulation, for example, displaying weakness as a moral virtue, or demanding equality, or even feigning perfect honesty or naivete. But Greene asserts that all of us hunger for power, and almost all our actions are aimed at gaining it. These non-players are merely throwing dust in our eyes, distracting us from their own indirect power plays. The core insight here is that if the world is like a giant scheming court and we are trapped inside it, there's no use trying to opt out. Powerlessness, he argues, will only make you miserable. Instead, he suggests it's far better to excel at power, to become an artist rather than a denier or a bungler.
That's a stark perspective, but it makes sense when you think about it. If you're going to be in the game, you might as well play it well. What, then, are some of the fundamental skills that Greene highlights as crucial for mastering these laws of power?
There are several core skills that Greene emphasizes, which are foundational to applying the 48 laws. Mastering your emotions is perhaps the most important. Emotional responses, especially anger, cloud reason and make situations less controllable. Love and affection can also be destructive by blinding you to others' self-serving interests. You don't repress them, but they should never influence your plans or strategies. Objectivity and foresight. You need to be like the Roman deity Janus, able to look in both directions at once, to the future to anticipate problems and plan many steps ahead, and to the past to learn from mistakes without dwelling on hurts. Playing with appearances. Power requires the ability to wear many masks and use deceptive tricks. Deception, according to Greene, is a developed art of civilization and a most potent weapon in the game of power. Patience. This is your crucial shield against moronic blunders. Power, he notes, is more godlike than anything in the natural world, and patience is the supreme virtue of the gods, who have nothing but time. Objective judgment. This means seeing circumstances rather than good or evil. In power, you judge opponents by the effect of their actions, not their intentions. People often cover up their actions with justifications of goodness, but you must learn to inwardly laugh at this and focus on results. Studying people. Greene states that to be a master player, you must be a master psychologist. Recognizing motivations and seeing through the cloud of dust people surround their actions with is the single greatest piece of knowledge you can have. He advises to never trust anyone completely and study everyone, including friends and loved ones. Indirection. Always take the indirect route to power, disguising your cunning like a billiard ball that caroms several times before hitting its target.
Wow, that's a comprehensive toolkit for navigating human interactions. Let's dive into a few specific laws that really embody these principles. What's one that often catches people off guard?
A prime example is Law 1, never outshine the master. The judgment here is to always make those above you feel comfortably superior. If you display your talents too overtly, you might inspire fear and insecurity in your master, leading to your downfall. A classic transgression is Nicolas Fouquet, Louis XIV's finance minister. Fouquet staged an unbelievably lavish party to honor the king, but it backfired spectacularly. Every magnificent spectacle and every appreciative smile from the guests directed at Fouquet made Louis XIV feel outshone and threatened, not flattered. Fouquet was arrested the next day and imprisoned for 20 years. The king, a proud and arrogant man, could not countenance being outdone.
That's a harsh lesson. So it's not just about competence, but about managing your image relative to your superiors. How would one observe this law effectively?
Galileo offers a perfect example of how to observe this law. When he discovered Jupiter's moons, instead of distributing the credit, he focused exclusively on the Medici family. He aligned his discovery with their symbol, Jupiter, and harmonized the number of moons with the Medici brothers, making it seem as if the heavens themselves reflected their ascendancy. By literally aligning them with the stars, he made them shine brilliantly and was rewarded by becoming their official court philosopher and mathematician with a full salary. The key is to give your master glory, making them appear more brilliant than they are without challenging their intellectual authority.
That's brilliant. It shows how subtly you can use these principles. Speaking of relationships, what about the book's stance on friends versus enemies? That seems like a counterintuitive idea.
It is, and it's covered in Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Greene argues that you have more to fear from friends than from enemies, as friends are easily aroused to envy and can become spoiled and tyrannical. He suggests that hiring a former enemy can lead to greater loyalty because they have more to prove. The tragic story of Michael III and Basilius illustrates this. Michael, the Byzantine emperor, chose his best friend Basilius, an inexperienced stable boy, as his chief counselor out of trust. Despite receiving immense favors and power from Michael, Basilius eventually felt encumbered by the charity and conspired to murder Michael and assume the throne himself.
That's a chilling reminder that kindness can be misinterpreted. So it's better to maintain a certain distance in professional relationships?
Precisely. Greene advises, keep friends for friendship, but work with the skilled and competent. He also provocatively states that you are far better off with a declared opponent or two than not knowing where your real enemies lie. The man of power, he says, welcomes conflict, using enemies to enhance his reputation.
That definitely challenges conventional wisdom. Let's talk about something a bit more general but still vital, the art of concealing your intentions.
This is Law 3. Conceal your intentions. The core idea is to keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they don't know what you're up to, they can't prepare a defense. You can use decoy objects of desire or red herrings to throw people off the scent, or even use smoke screens. Otto von Bismarck famously did this when he opposed a war with Austria in 1850. Despite being a passionate patriot who dreamed of unifying Germany, he gave a speech praising Austria and talking of the madness of war, confusing everyone. This led the king to make him a cabinet minister, a position from which he later strengthened the Prussian military and achieved his real goal, humiliating Austria and unifying Germany. He deceived everyone and attained everything he wanted through insincerity and misleading signals.
That's quite a deceptive move. It highlights how important it is for people to constantly talk about their plans, which can be a huge vulnerability.
Absolutely. Greene notes that most people are open books, constantly revealing their plans and intentions, thinking it wins hearts or shows good nature. But this makes you predictable and familiar, which hinders your ability to inspire respect or fear. The best deceivers, he says, often use a bland and inconspicuous front that calls no attention to themselves, like an unreadable poker face, to hide their intentions. The story of Joseph Wheel, the yellow kid, who conned a millionaire by focusing his attention on a fake business deal before a rigged boxing match, beautifully illustrates the power of smokescreens. The millionaire was so engrossed in the initial deal that he missed all the red flags.
That's incredibly insightful. So much of it comes down to appearances and managing perception. What about one of the most visible aspects of power, reputation?
That's Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Greene calls reputation the cornerstone of power. Through reputation alone, you can intimidate and win. He cites the legendary Chinese general Zhuge Liang, his reputation as the sleeping dragon, a man who always had a trick up his sleeve, was so formidable that when an enemy army found him, seemingly unguarded in a town with open gates, their general, Sima Yi, retreated. Sima Yi was too fearful of Liang's reputation for cunning to believe he wasn't walking into a trap, even though Liang was truly defenseless.
That's incredible, winning without firing a single arrow. It shows the psychological weight a solid reputation carries.
Precisely. Your reputation protects you in the dangerous game of appearances and gives you control over how the world judges you. You must establish a reputation for one outstanding quality, build it slowly, and protect it strictly.
Okay, this has been fascinating so far, really shedding light on some of the darker yet often unspoken dynamics of human interaction. Before we delve into more of these intriguing laws, we have a quick message for our listeners.
To support the author and publisher, we encourage you to purchase and read the full physical version of the book. We have attached the link to buy the book in the video description. You can refer to it. And if you'd like us to create a brief summary or review of a particular book, don't hesitate to leave a comment under this video. If we've read it, we'll definitely fulfill your request.
Welcome back. Ethan, let's pick up where we left off. You mentioned how important it is to make people dependent on you. Can you elaborate on that and perhaps give us another example?
Certainly, Emma. That's Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. The core idea is that to maintain your independence, you must always be needed and wanted. The more you are relied upon, the more freedom you have. Make people depend on you for their happiness and prosperity, and you have nothing to fear. The classic example is Otto von Bismarck. He shrewdly allied himself not with a faction, but directly with the King of Prussia, Frederick William IV, when the king was at a low point of power. Bismarck then consistently forced the king's hand, building up the military and restoring monarchical power, making the king utterly dependent on him. He later did the same with King William I, who, despite disliking Bismarck, depended on him to handle his enemies. Bismarck, in essence, became the man behind the throne, pulling all the levers of power while the king served as his front.
That's a powerful illustration of reverse independence, where the servant actually controls the master. So it's not about absolute independence, but strategic interdependence.
Exactly. Greene argues that power involves a relationship between people. The completely independent person, living in a cabin in the woods, has freedom, but no power. The goal is for others to grow so dependent on you that you enjoy a kind of reverse independence.
That's a profound shift in perspective. What about the idea of getting others to do the work for you? That sounds almost too easy.
That's Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. This saves you time and energy and gives you a godlike aura of efficiency and speed. Your helpers will be forgotten, but you'll be remembered. The tragic story of Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison perfectly illustrates this transgression. Tesla was a brilliant inventor, but Edison, a master businessman and publicist, excelled at spotting trends and hiring the best people to do the work for him. Edison took credit for many inventions, while Tesla, despite being the true father of AC power and radio, died in poverty, with his name largely forgotten in connection to these discoveries. Greene's lesson is twofold. Securing credit is as important as the creation itself, and you must learn to take advantage of other people's work.
That's a harsh but practical lesson about protecting your intellectual capital and leveraging others' efforts. What about arguments? The book suggests avoiding them, which goes against our natural instinct to prove ourselves right.
That's Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Greene states that any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a Pyrrhic victory. The resentment and ill will you stir up last longer than any temporary change of opinion. It's far more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. The famous example is Michelangelo and Florence's mayor, Piero Soderini, regarding the nose of the David statue. Soderini thought the nose was too big, but Michelangelo, instead of arguing, pretended to chip away at it while letting marble dust fall, all while literally changing Soderini's perspective. Soderini was convinced he had improved it, the statue remained perfect, and no one was offended. Actions and demonstrations are much more powerful and meaningful than words, as the truth is generally seen, rarely heard.
Fascinating. It's all about creating an undeniable reality through your actions. Now, let's talk about one of the most striking laws for me, the idea of recreating yourself. What does that entail?
That's Law 25, recreate yourself. This law urges you to not accept the roles society foists on you. Instead, you should forge a new identity, one that commands attention and never bores the audience, becoming the master of your own image. The story of George Sand, Aurore Dupin, is a prime example. As a woman writer in 19th century Paris, she faced immense societal limitations. She chose to publish under a male pseudonym and adopted a male persona, wearing men's clothes, smoking cigars, dominating conversations, to gain acceptance in the male-dominated literary world. She constantly adapted and varied her character, even dabbling in politics, refusing to let anyone dictate her limits.
So it's about conscious self-creation, like an artist crafting a masterpiece.
Precisely. Greene describes it as a Promethean task, making you responsible for your own creation. He argues that the bad actor is one who is always sincere, while good actors control themselves and can affect emotions without actually feeling them. This flexibility, the ability to play many roles and be whatever the moment requires, makes you ungraspable and powerful.
That leads perfectly to one of the most overarching and subtle laws in the book, one that feels particularly relevant in today's unpredictable world. Assume formlessness.
Yes, Law 48, assume formlessness. This is perhaps the ultimate expression of adaptability. Greene states that by taking a shape or having a visible plan, you open yourself to attack. Instead, you must keep yourself adaptable and on the move, accepting that nothing is certain and no law is fixed.
the best way to protect yourself is to be as fluid and formless as water. He draws a brilliant comparison between the Western game of chess and the Asian game of Go to illustrate this. While chess is linear and direct, Go is about subtle, fluid strategy, valuing movement over fixed position.
How did this manifest in real-world power dynamics?
Mao Zedong, a Go addict, applied these principles in the Chinese Civil War against Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist forces. The nationalists, using a linear, fixed-position strategy, were easily defeated. Mao's communists, however, dispersed, moved like mercury, and used a jigsaw pattern that disoriented and terrified their enemy. They made the nationalists waste time pursuing them or assume incompetence. When the nationalists concentrated forces, they became sitting ducks for encirclement. This apparent formlessness not only defeated the enemy physically, but also encircled the enemy's brain, destroying their morale through psychological warfare. The key insight here is to never show any defensiveness and train yourself to take nothing personally, making your face a formless mask that disorients opponents who can't find a clear form to attack.
That's a truly powerful concept, becoming so elusive that your enemies can't even get a handle on you. It's about being strategically opaque. Ethan, this has been an incredible deep dive into the 48 Laws of Power. What's your final message for our audience regarding this book?
My final message is that this book, while controversial, offers profound insights into human nature and power dynamics. It's not about being evil, it's about understanding the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. Greene says, if the game of power is inescapable, better to be an artist than a denier or a bungler. By mastering these laws, you learn to navigate social interactions with greater awareness and control. Think of the 48 Laws of Power not as a guidebook for villainy, but as a complex, multi-layered instruction manual for a game of chess played on the grand stage of human interaction. Each law is a strategic move, a defensive maneuver, or a way to predict your opponent's next step. You don't have to win every game, but understanding the rules allows you to play with intention, avoid common pitfalls, and ultimately carve out a space where you feel less like a pawn and more like a player, even if the game is constantly in motion.
What a great way to put it! Thank you, Ethan, for this incredibly insightful discussion. And thank you, Readology Review listeners, for joining us today. We hope this has given you a fresh perspective on the 48 Laws of Power. Don't forget to check the description for the link to the book and leave your comments with suggestions for future reviews. Until next time, happy reading.